So Clayton is the CEO, owner, and bomb.com for Root Brand. And he is here today. He's gracious enough to join us, even though he's on vacation with his family. Thank you, Clayton, for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank your family for us.
Hopefully my breeze isn't too dead.
Yeah.
And well, it's our son's 17th birthday today.
Yay!
So
Happy
we're having a
birthday
birthday party later. And so Mama's out running errands, and I get to do a couple of these things in the meantime. So it's a beautiful part of family time, is you get work done, and then you can take your time for family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then we're at the top of the hour here. I'm going to mention that when you leave us in an hour, then you have a live. And the link, Cindy's going to go ahead and post that link in our comments. So if anybody wants to hop over and get a second dose of Clayton, they can.
Well, and actually the Zoom that we're doing after this is going to be absolutely epic, because Dr. Stefan Rao, who's a PhD virologist, immunologist, medical technologist, author, he's actually going to be going over a lot of his findings using Restore for heart rate variability analysis. I think he's been doing testing now for over a month, but I mean, he saw that he dropped his biological age by 30 years in 5 hours, and it's his birthday too. But one of the things we were talking about yesterday, as I believe he's going to present some data on newly published literature that was published 4 weeks ago regarding the CVID and melatonin, and how melatonin is actually very beneficial in helping the body address the vid. And what's interesting is through the proper decalcification of the pineal gland and the feeding of the gut and the ability to produce dopamine and serotonin, the serotonin converts to melatonin, and you do it the proper way. That's why we have the Trinity. But I'll leave this to you guys. Let's have fun.
So interestingly enough, our topic is neurotoxicity today, and I think you just wrapped it up. So are we good?
Yeah.
That's only the beginning.
It is, but that was the shortcut. That was wonderful. So let's just real quick start out, because we want to make sure we have a little discussion going, that we are not attempting to cure, treat, mitigate illness or disease. If you guys have any questions at all about your medical health, you need to contact your physician, because we are not your physician, and we are here to bring you some great information, some knowledge and education, and then you can take that and facilitate your own healing, which is what we're looking for, is for you guys to be your best and live your best and be your healthy.
Well,
Yes.
and if I can add to that, this is for purely educational, informational, and somewhat humoral at times purposes. But what's really important, if you remember watching The Matrix, and if you didn't watch The Matrix, you should go back and watch The Matrix, because it's more current now than any time before. But there was a point where Neo was looking at the spoon, and he was able to move the spoon, and the response was, there is no spoon. Well, we don't need to talk about diseases, because, well, there are none. All you have is a diagnosis based on symptoms that science and research has shown that the primary cause is heavy metals and environmental toxins. So at the end of the day, there actually is no disease, only you. So get away from titles and just focus on the etiology and the cause, because it all starts up in your head.
Right. So often, and I know a lot of people feel better with the diagnosis, right? Well, now I know what the problem is, which is, yes, to some extent, people like to know what the problem is, but really life comes down to toxicity and deficiency. What do you have too much of in your body, and what do you lack in your body?
And what things that you have too much of that cause the inability for the absorption or the production of the other things that you might be lacking. And that's
Right.
what's really most important, is the process has nothing to do with addition, right? It's not what, and this has been the flaw in the process for decades. And it's really good marketing. You know, because the thought's always been you have to add stuff in. The soil's depleted. We are nutrient deficient. We're mineral deficient. If we were really mineral deficient, we'd be dead. And the problem arises in the fact that it's not that we need to add stuff, it's what we need to remove. It's these environmental toxins that have been put in us since we were conceived, that have been around us since civilization started, that are passed down generation to generation, and then our environmental exposure the day we come out creates this additional process of daily exposure to other toxins, other chemicals, and other pollutants that are known to destroy us. And it's how those toxins, pollutants, chemicals, heavy metals get into our bodies. A lot of, mercury, lead, aluminum are neurotoxic. Glyphosate is shown to be neurotoxic because it's water soluble. And they are what cause all of our issues. But what's really amazing about them is that they will affect each one of us differently. Therefore, the symptoms that each of us express or that we show that you can be diagnosed upon are all different, yet we all have the same problem. We have people walking to the beach. So
I think that has to do with the body burden. And we've talked about this before, Jill and I have a while ago, about the fact that heavy metals and toxicities, they actually displace minerals and absorb instead of. And that's why it's important to get rid of them, because if they're there instead of the minerals, no matter what you take or how much you take, your body's not going to accept them because you already have the mercury instead of magnesium or the cadmium instead of calcium.
And the lead instead of vitamin D and calcium, as lead displaces calcium in bone, which is why women get osteoporosis, not because they're deficient in calcium and vitamin D and magnesium and boron, but because lead is actually sequestered in bone. And when you hit about 40 to 45 to 50, that lead starts to come back out of bone into the bloodstream, which leaves the bones brittle. But here's the fun part with lead. As we just mentioned, lead's neurotoxic. Lead is hormone mimetic. So it will go to your brain because it gets back into your bloodstream. It'll be sequestered in your brain, which causes brain fog. It's hormone mimetic in its ability to mimic estrogen, so it'll block binding sites. So your body continues to produce natural estrogen, but the estrogen can't get to its binding sites, so you become hormonal. So your bones become brittle, you become hormonal, and you have brain fog. That's because you're lead toxic, but you know what you're told you have?
Menopause.
Menopause, right.
You don't have menopause, you're just freaking polluted.
Which is funny because when somebody says to me, oh, I'm going through menopause, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And the answer is, wait, what do you mean you're not doing that? I said, no, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
My goal is to never do that.
I started menopause, where's my quotes? Menopause whenever I was 25. And everybody can go back and hear my story and everything. But it wasn't menopause because once I started detoxing and removing the toxins out of my body, guess what? It stopped.
How about that?
Yeah, so
a healthy body doesn't have problems.
Exactly. So I know the topic today is neurotoxicity, right? So I know we have a lot of people are here for, well, I'm just going to say the words, hopefully we don't get kicked off. So autism and ADHD and Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's and MS. And so I know a lot of times people want to know, just for this one diagnosis, what do I do? I have a child and who's on the spectrum. It's not just one thing for being on the spectrum versus a different thing for Alzheimer's. So, we've got kids in one position and older people in another position, yet the common denominator is there.
Correct. And there's not one thing you do in those circumstances. And this is the really important part of the Trinity. And you can say that the deeply rooted approach to greatness is you hear people talk about, oh, you got to get the metals out. You got to get the toxins out. Great. You hear other people talk about the gut and the microbiome and the gut-brain connection. So they want to do a little bit in the gut. Maybe they want to improve serotonin production because serotonin can make you happy. And then you hear about nootropics and dopamine and the marketing behind those products. And they're all sold separately and they're all really expensive and they all talk about addressing a pathway that's really important. But it's a lot like hitting Control-Alt-Delete on your laptop or on your computer to where you're going to do a system reboot and a system reset where it works to get rid of a bunch of the trash, clear stuff out, and reboot so it can be more functional again. You have to do the same thing with your body. You have to hit Control-Alt-Delete. You can't just hit the Control button and let go, and then hit the Alt button and let go, and hit the Delete button and let go, and expect to have a reset. It doesn't work that way. You have to do all three simultaneously. So Control, well, you need 0 in. Alt is restore. Delete, well, we know that's clean slate. And this is the key, is you've got to get the toxins out from head to toes. The body's going to control that process when done properly, and that's what makes clean slate so amazing. Second, you got to take care of the gut, right? You have to get your gut to regenerate. You want to kill off the fungus, you want to kill off a lot of the yeast, and you want to create a healthy environment to where bad parasites and such can't survive, and you can allow a lot of that to be flushed out. And then once you start to repair the gut, which happens very, very quickly, it's important to understand that the microbiome in your gut responds in a matter of minutes. That's why if you eat good food, you feel good. If you eat bad food, you feel terrible because your body responds that quickly. It's a lot like throwing water or gasoline on a bonfire. One way you're going to get a poor response. The other way is going to be an immediate response, which is highly entertaining. It doesn't take days to do it. It's done very, very quickly. Same energy transfer mechanisms. So then when you feed your gut, you give it the ability to produce dopamine and serotonin on demand as you see fit, when you want, to be dictated and controlled by your intention and what you want. Then you have all three things working properly. Because then from a neurological perspective, not only are you cleaning up the pathways, but you're properly restructuring and feeding the pathways to start firing properly. So you hit it on every key point, not just one, and then you pray for everything else to be in balance. Because as Dr. Stefan Rao goes over in some of the previous conversations, people think of homeostasis and balance in the body like a teeter-totter. Right? They say you have to have balance. The body's going to create balance. It's not like that. The body's like a mobile. Remember what babies have over their crib? That you have all of these different connecting points, but if you put pressure on one, the whole thing adjusts. That's how our body works, and it's extremely sensitive. So you want to be able to work throughout the entire system and work on multiple aspects, but you want to do it in a manner that allows that balance of that mobile to be very well controlled. You don't want to put too much pressure on one area because the whole thing will collapse. You have to have balance. That's what we're doing that's never been done before. And that's why the outcomes that we're seeing are like nothing we've ever seen before. Doesn't matter your age. You could be a newborn baby, you could be a 90-year-old geriatric, or somewhere in between.
So that's good. So you're going to bring up a really good point. People are asking, what are the, and we kind of went over this last Tuesday, but since we're in neurotoxicity, let's talk about it now. What is the age? Is it safe for kids, babies, infants?
Absolutely. We have a website update that's going on right now. And I think Dr. Tina Bozishnik, I think we'll be putting them on the website. Tina is, I think the last 2 or 3 years, been rated the top pediatrician in a couple countries in Europe and Eastern Europe. And she's been working with her clients. And we have other root babies where moms have been using Cleanslate prior to pregnancy, during pregnancy, and then they put a drop on a nipple when the baby is breastfeeding. Root babies are amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
But the process is important no matter what your age, and we all need it. We all have the mechanisms, right? It doesn't matter what age you are. If you're a newborn baby, or if you're 90, or if you're 20, or if you're 40, or if you're 30, if you're 80, you all have kidneys. We all have organs. We all have a brain. We all have a central nervous system. Some of them just haven't been burdened as much as others.
Right.
So you've got to, the key thing is the earlier you can start doing this, the better off we're all going to be. But we haven't found any negatives. And if you're using Restore, you can just give kids just a little, babies just a little bit, not a lot, and just play with it. And for 0 in, we have kids as young as 6 that have been swallowing capsules because they were capable, but you can open a capsule and use like half of it and put it in yogurt or mix it in with something and let it do its thing.
Wonderful.
Because we all make dopamine and serotonin. We need it.
Right.
We just don't produce enough of it because we're toxic.
I was actually seeing a thing that children that are on the spectrum, 25% of them are low in serotonin, at least.
Well, it was interesting with kids, and when we're done, you guys should post the spectrum and autism conversation, the piece that we put on our YouTube channel that we did a few months ago. It's the most epic presentation on this subject I've ever seen. I was just really fortunate to be part of it. But if you look at kids that are in the spectrum, they're said to be flighty, and kids that have really aggressive diagnosis of, I hate using terms, but we'll say autism. They don't pay attention, right? They're constantly looking around and, I'm going to walk back inside because that's storm coming and I'm not getting rained on. My view is terrible today. But the kids can't pay attention as they're looking around. The problem is their serotonin pathways are so screwed up. And like we talked about, your pineal gland converts serotonin into melatonin. The problem is if you have excess serotonin in autistic kids, they're way overwhacked. The serotonin converts to DMT. If you know what DMT is, it's the psychedelic component that allows you to dream, but it's also why people like psychedelics. It's why mushrooms are so powerful, because of the production of DMT. We produce it naturally, properly. But these kids have massive levels of DMT because of those improper serotonin pathways, because of the glyphosate, because of the mercury and the other neurotoxins. They're constantly tripping. They're like on a 24-hour LSD trip. Imagine that. It's like Alice in Wonderland. They're like, this is freaking amazing. I see all these colors. We can't imagine what they're seeing because we've never been through it. But they could be walking on the beach like this and like, what? There's an alligator in the weeds. It's going to get me. It's like Johnny Depp did in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We can't stop here. This is backcountry. It's like, wait a minute, there's no bad country. It's what you're seeing. So wow. You have to just understand the pathways and the process. And it all comes down to one simple thing, right? It's not, oh, well, we have to do this and this and this. We have to do all these other therapies. No, you just need to get the toxins out that are causing the disruption. And then everything else can start to repair itself. And you get proper neurotransmission back online. You get that operating system communicating properly. They're not gone. This is the important part to understand with kids in the spectrum. They're not disconnected. They're right there with you. There's just a glass wall that's blocking their ability to communicate clearly because of being toxic. When you start to take that wall down, and it's so cool to hear from moms that have had kids that have been nonverbal for 14 years. And then after a few days of doing a few steps like we're talking about, they start speaking in sentences. Not just words, but sentences. And one of our instances, Yvonne, she's over in the Netherlands. She's Dutch. Her husband is American. And she has 14-year-old twins that are both in the spectrum, one more aggressive than the other. He's been completely nonverbal. And when he started talking after the first week, he was speaking in both languages. And he's saying happy birthday to his dad in English.
Wow.
And I can tell you, now being a stepdad, but not having to go through that process, there were smiles and there was a couple tears because it kind of makes you happy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen that quick for everybody. It's just a process. You got to clean up the mess. You got to allow the body to start to adjust. And you usually see changes fairly quickly.
Right.
You know, as the process begins, right? It's step by step by step. It's not something that's done in a week. It's not something that's done in a month. It's not something that even stops after a year. Because of how we're doing this, this is a continual process of creating greatness and enhancing our total function, spiritually, physically, mentally, energetically, over time.
Right. So one of the things that I've been encouraging people to do is to write down a list of symptoms or issues and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 and then put it away for 30 days and be diligent. Be diligent in what you're doing for 30 days and then go back to that. So everybody's unique. Everybody, the way they're going to use the way they'll build up is unique and their response is going to be unique. But how amazing to be able to see the progress, because when you're sitting at home and your grass is growing, you don't see it. But if you go on vacation, you come back in a month, it's very clear what's going on. So it's good to know. So it's good. We need to maybe keep a list so you can see the progress.
Well, and it speaks to the issues of out of sight, out of mind. The human brain and the body is so unique that if you have issues that maybe you manage on a daily basis, if those things go away when you wake up the next morning, your body won't remind you that you had those issues. You'll just go about your business.
Right. Exactly.
Only if you try to think about, wait a minute, my knees used to hurt and my shoulder used to be bad and I used to need my glasses to see, but now my vision's different. My hearing is better. My skin looks better. Exactly. All of these things, if you don't have some semblance of reminder of, hey, your vision used to be, 12/20. I don't know. My vision's always been like 20/10. I think it's like 20/13 now. But for people that have really bad vision, what we've seen a lot of over time is people are coming back and saying, hey, I've had problems with my glasses. I think my vision's getting worse. And they go into their optometrist and they're like, no, actually your vision's improved. We don't know how you did that, but your vision's better. So they need a different prescription or they don't need glasses because their vision's actually better. And that's the same thing with neurotoxicology, because your eyes are brain tissue and they're exposed to the environment. And if you can clean up the smallest vascularity and remove the toxins, which is where cataracts and different stuff come from as well, you clean up all that stuff, vision has to improve.
Right. Yep. And to your point, sometimes you don't even realize until you start making the list and then you're walking around, and you're going about your daily thing and you're like, oh, and another thing. Oh, and another thing. You said, if you live with headache, that might not even top your list because you just push that to the back and you go to bed and then you realize you have a headache and you add that to the list. So I think that would be very helpful for people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the key things, and I was talking to Dr. Ken, or I don't know if Ken's a doctor or not. He's a natural health practitioner.
Isn't he a functional?
Yeah, he's functional med. But he was talking about with a lot of his clients with starting on the Trinity, but when they started using Restore, they came back to him and they're like, I'm going poo like 2 to 3 times a day now. And I would usually only do it like once or twice a week. And those were things that weren't even in their records on the intake when he was interviewing them, because people are so screwed up with their gut and their cycle that they didn't even know that being constipated and being all backed up was a problem. But when it starts to come out, they're like, well, why am I doing this? I was chatting with someone last week who's been on the Trinity now for, I think it was 2.5 weeks. And he had to get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and went and sat down and for 40 minutes just flushed his brains out. And his wife woke up. It's like, where are you? He's like, I'm on the toilet. I don't know what's coming out of me right now. But when he got done, he's like, I felt like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the process. And it's these little notes. It's the things you don't even think about because you don't even have the reference as to how they're affecting you.
Right. I can actually attest to that because, and again, people can go back and look at my story, but my intestines, the doctor said, were partially paralyzed, and I was going to the bathroom once every 2 or 3 weeks. And other detox products and everything got it to where I could go once or twice a day. But since I've been on the Trinity, I'm going like sometimes 4 times a day, and it's good evacuation. And like I was with my mom the other day, and she said that she could notice a difference. Like I'm not bloated and everything like that, and my skin's starting to clear up. I actually have, I'm going to post a picture of it. I have a mole that I was trying to get rid of with a different detox product for over a year. And it wouldn't do anything. It was like black. And I just noticed the other day, because I'd been putting a drop of Cleanslate and a little bit of Restore on it every night. It's very, very light brown, and it's not as raised as it was. It's starting to go away. It's been 3 weeks.
It's a process.
I love it.
Yep.
Okay.
I would like to ask Clayton, if you could kind of let everybody know, kind of, since we're talking about neurotoxicity, how does Zero In help with neurotoxicity? I know we talked about dopamine and serotonin, but what other aspects of it? What does it do?
So Zero In's actually assisting in the gut regeneration process as well. And because of the proanthocyanidins, the PACs that are in the pine bark extract. But turmeric is also very beneficial in some of those aspects, but it's really, really important to understand with this formula, with that strategic combination, they are designed to do their job really effectively, which is work to create, the path or the process to create more dopamine and serotonin. So when you look at neurotoxicity, it's really important that you have, good levels of dopamine and serotonin. And you guys can pull up millions and millions, and I actually really mean that, millions of research studies and documents that support the benefits of proper dopamine and serotonin levels, but also the benefits of higher levels of dopamine and serotonin without going beyond what is ideal or functional, and being able to control it like we do. So if you're cleaning up your brain, you're removing some of the heavy metals, from your brain and central nervous system. Some of those receptor sites that are being cleaned up are for dopamine and serotonin, but it's also those metals and toxins that are inhibiting your body from producing dopamine and serotonin. So the crucial pathway, for Zero In is the fact that a couple things. One, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to make things fun. So even doing the dishes and doing the laundry and cleaning the house can become fun. Doing gardening can become fun. But the cool part with boosting your dopamine and serotonin levels is you start to feel good. You feel happy, you're relaxed, you're calm, which means that your stress levels are going to go down, which means your cortisol levels go down, which means the stress band around your waist, that fat you just can't get rid of, will go away, because your body doesn't need to carry it anymore because you're no longer stressed. So there's many, many different benefits to it. It's hard to hit on each one because it affects everyone a little bit differently. But over time, you start to see all of those benefits. And that's why we say use the Trinity. I get so many questions of, I have this. Which one should I use? Trinity. Because there isn't just one silver bullet, right? And that's the one thing that I think people have been marketed to so heavily is take this and it will address this issue. Well, the issue isn't the problem in the first place. So what you need to do is make your entire system freaking amazing. You don't want wellness. Wellness is such an overused term that's prostituted like so many other things. And people don't want to be well. Well's like just good enough above good to say, I'm well. People want to be great. They want to be freaking outstanding, right? Tom Brady doesn't want to perform well. Tom Brady's the GOAT because he consistently wants to work towards greatness. It's what we all want to find. And you can't do it with one silver bullet. It's a process. And in the rest of our life, we try to work with the Trinity. So if you want to find greatness, use the Trinity.
I love that. I had actually a wonderful young woman contact me the other day, and she had been on Cleanslate for about 3 days, just one drop twice a day. And then she decided to add in Zero In, and she took one capsule, and she was like, is this supposed to work immediately? And I was like, yes. And she said, I feel like my brain is alive. She was like, I cleaned the house and everything. She was like, I feel amazing. I've never felt, and she's dealing with a lot of thyroid issues and a lot of things. And she's like, I can't believe this. She was like, I had to ask you if it's supposed to work like that because nothing works for her. Well,
nothing had worked yet.
Yeah.
Right. So my son had the same experience with that. So I gave him one. I sent him a little video from Clayton that I taped because, teenagers aren't open to things. So I sent him a video that Clayton did, a little snippet of it. And he said, hey, whatever that is, I'll do that. And I said, okay. And, sometimes that's good, right? It's the person that you relate to most. So he related to Clayton and that, right? So I said, it's already here. It's already set on the counter for you. Let me know. So he took it the next day, went to work, worked a 14-hour day, and only works, 9 or 10 hours, 14-hour day, because people called off, came home. I'm like, hey, how was your day? He goes, long, 14 hours. He goes, but I killed it. I sold 3. He sells RVs. I sold 3 RVs. And I said, okay, great. I said, do you want dinner? He goes, no, I'm going to go to the gym. Okay. I mean, this is the kid that would normally go straight upstairs, take a shower, and be on TikTok or YouTube for the rest of the night. Went to the gym, came home. Like, so what do you think? He goes, grab a shower, go to bed. Got up in the morning. I said, how do you feel? Amazing. He's like, I haven't slept that well, and I don't know how long. That was one. He now takes 2 a day because now I told him, I said, you can take one before you go to the gym for your workout. And so now I'm pretty sure he's going to be telling all of his friends, or maybe just keep it a secret. I don't know.
That's the hard part with athletes is they want to keep everything themselves as a secret.
Right?
That's true. You don't want to give your competition the edge.
I know. We're going to be having a meeting with my son's basketball team and the coaches because my son, the first week he was on it, he went to a big basketball tournament where he played, I don't remember how many games. It was like over a week. He played like 18 basketball games or something like that. And he was just going, and it was the best he's ever played. He said he was focused on the court. He's 6'7", and he was playing against a 7-footer. And he blocked him. He straight up shut the kid down to where the kid was throwing a fit on the court because he had never been shut down before. And he was like, I was just in the zone and I was doing it. So now his coaches are like, what are you using? So I'm going to, so he said, you can tell my team.
Right. Yeah, it's like, that's just it. It's like, okay, what are you doing? I'm biochemically enhanced. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. And I love that it's all approved for colleges. It's approved to be able to use in college. So that's a plus. But.
Right. Yeah. So
anyway,
it's labeled for the Olympics, right?
We have a couple. Well, I think we have 4 Olympians right now over in Hungary that they're doing the trials with. A swimmer, a gymnast, a soccer player, or a real footballer, and I don't remember the 4th one, but the blood work that they're doing along with some of the other analytics and what I've had for preliminary feedback, because Christina and our scientific advisory team has been working on this. They said the cognitive enhancement improvements across the board have been jaw-dropping. And really, when you look at elite performance, it's not physical, it's all mental. Right. And especially with the technical sports, if you look at basketball, if you look at football, you look at baseball, you really look at anything, the ability to manage stress in crunch time. I don't know if you guys you probably watched a little basketball a couple nights ago. I think it was game 2 of the NBA Western Conference Finals with 1.6 seconds left. Paul George had the opportunity to make 2 free throws or even to make 1 free throw to seal a victory for his team. And he's an 85% free throw shooter, an all NBA player, an all-star. and we'll make 8.5 out of 10 free throws. And he clanked both of them because it was crunch time. It's all stress management. I've watched a 16-year-old point guard in a 2-point game with 50 seconds left knock 6 straight free throws down and not flinch. And he came over to the bench and I asked him how he felt. He's like, I didn't feel anything. I'm just zoned
That's what
out.
Ian said. Yeah.
And that's where you want to be, just completely zoned out.
Yep.
And who doesn't want that in every aspect of their life, to know that you are just absolutely present, you're in the moment, and you're in control of everything you want to do. And this is what's so important with Zero In compared to the rest of this category of all of the products that are promoted for nootropics and such. And we've had some really good comparisons from people that have used the most popular brands in the market. And they're like, there's no comparison. That Zero In is something that you can use during the day that will help you be calm and relaxed and focused and on point. It will allow you to be able to meditate and do yoga like you never imagined. And as soon as your feet hit the ground, you will be present again in the moment, like probably you've never experienced. When you're ready to do sports, you won't fatigue. You'll zone out. You'll feel amazing. When you go home and you're ready to get stuff done with your kids, you'll be calm and relaxed and you won't want to choke them. But then when it's time to go to bed, the serotonin and dopamine pathways flip and your body controls this. So you're going to go to sleep and you're going to dream like crazy. There's nothing that's been in the market that you can tell people, hey, take it in the morning, you're going to be alert and amazing. Take it at night and you're going to go to sleep. What?
Right. That's what I love about it, is because your body controls it. It's not something that you have to stop because it's too much for your body or anything like that. Your body uses what it needs, and it allows that the way the body was supposed to work. And as far as mamas, I think that's especially important for moms, because with all the toxicity we carry and we have such brain fog, we forget things. I know, like, my prayer to the Lord is always like, Lord, if you could give me one thing, let me dream at night the things I have forgotten about my children's childhood. Because there's so many things, because with brain fog, we don't, and then we get stressed out and we're so worn down from doing everything, then we don't take advantage of those times that we're going to soon wish we had back. And I think that is so very important. And I personally have seen that with these. And that's kind of where my heart is with moms, is I want them to be able to enjoy their children and their children to have that closeness with them, that as they grow up, they're best friends, because they were not worn out all the time raising them, and they were able to raise them to where they don't have to worry about what they're going to do when they get older, if that makes sense.
The big thing for moms is, I mean, you're doing 5 to 7 things all at one time. Women have to multitask constantly. Guys, we can handle one task at a time. We function in boxes. Women are like this big ball of copper wire, and everything is connected. And the ability to relax and be calm, but still multitask and fire through everything and have everything interconnected and know, okay, I need to do this. And while I'm doing this, I can do that. And after I'm done doing this, I'm going to do this and this, and I'm going to tie that together over here. And when I'm on the way to go get groceries, because I got to feed everybody, I got to pick up this stuff for the kids because I got to take care of them. And then I'm going to do this and this and this. To be able to just fire through all of that, but not let it bother you, is the key. And that's the one thing I've heard consistently, and I've seen it in my wife. And more importantly, I have a soon-to-be 16-year-old daughter who's going on 38, because that's what they do. But she has really pretty significant social anxiety. And she doesn't like to go out and be around a lot of people, and gets emotional at times. But who knew that girls could be emotional? And
Especially
if she
teenage
takes
girls.
a capsule of Zero In, if she takes one capsule of Zero In about 10 minutes, she's cool. So now the hard part is getting her to consistently do it, because she's so stubborn. She's like, well, I don't want one right now. I'm like, no, you need one right now. So,
put it in her yogurt.
It's
I got
really
you some
intriguing
yogurt,
to see
honey.
how-
We have a couple of
and
questions.
then she's like, well, I'm not eating that.
We have a couple of questions about the Trinity that I'd love to get to, because I know we're going to lose you soon to your other. So I'm going to ask them back to back because they're similar. So should the Trinity be started at the same time? Are there detox concerns to be aware of? And if you're taking Trinity, do you still need other supplements and vitamins?
You can start all at the same time. Some people find that using Cleanslate for a couple days before you start with 0 in can be more effective because of cleaning up neuroreceptors. But they're phenomenal all at the same time. The timing is one thing. You'll figure out with Restore whether your body likes it in the morning or likes it at night. Christina and I do both. We use a sachet in the morning and a sachet at night. And I will tell you, what it does for your gut is absolutely amazing. What it does for your metabolism is exceptional. And if you want to burn fat while you sleep, use one at night. Taking other supplements, Cleanslate makes everything else work better. But honestly, if you were taking a bunch of other stuff, I would probably stop and just do a little bit of time, even a couple weeks of letting these three do what they do, because it's likely all of the other stuff that you're taking, you won't need as much of or any at all. So
that comes in with letting your body do what it does, because if you let your body heal, then you may not need the other things because you really didn't need them before. Your body just didn't know how to metabolize them and to use them.
Correct. And one of the questions that often comes up is lifestyle changes, and do I need to change my diet, and do I need to change my exercise? And no, because your body's not in the position to demand it anyway. But what's interesting is as you start to clean up your system, as your gut starts to regenerate, as your neurotransmitters start to function at a more optimal level, your diet will change. A lot of the things that you eat because of excitotoxins and chemicals in those foods, you won't want anymore. You might find that you're eating more fruits and vegetables, and you're eating more salads, and you're actually naturally seeking out things that you knew were good for you, but you had a hard time eating. Your body's going to tell you, hey, I need this. And exercise, Jill, it's like I think you were hitting on. I had an NFL tight end in my office on Wednesday because there was a big NFL. They had like 40 of the top tight ends in the NFL come to Nashville for workouts, and I had one of them in my office, and he doesn't even take protein powder. He's so specific with how he takes care of his body. But I had him take two capsules because he's 6'4" and 255 pounds. He's a big kid, and he was having a meeting with one of my colleagues going over how we can introduce this to his colleagues and use this nonprofit organization to help benefit what he wants to do. And after about 10 minutes, he looked at my buddy. He's like, I need to go work out. I can't sit still. I need to go for a run. He's like, yeah, it happens. But it's like, no, I just feel so good right now. I need to go work out. That's dopamine. And
Exactly.
Your body will begin to tell you what you want to do. And those are the things that you should be doing, but you have to be in the position to want and be able to do them because biochemically things are functioning properly. And what's really important, you're not fat because you're lazy. You're not fat because you eat improperly. You're fat because you're toxic. And because you're toxic, you're lazy because your metabolism doesn't work. You're fat because those heavy metals and toxins that are in your system are getting stored in adipose, which are highly inflammatory, which not only causes the fat cells to increase in size and expand because they're storing the toxins, but those said toxins also cause the negative inflammation. So you're not fat, you're inflamed. And if you start to remove those toxins and start to balance everything, the inflammation goes away, which means you have a reduction in bloating and inflammation in your body, which comes across as weight. Your fat cells can start to release a lot of those toxins, so the fat cells will shrink. We all have a certain number of fat cells. They don't go away. You don't lose fat by losing fat cells. If you want to lose fat cells, do lipo. That's the only way you can get rid of them. But It's how they're functioning that's important, and the difference between white fat and brown fat and healthy fat. These are all the things we can help control and modulate through becoming great.
Yes. As you said that, I'm thinking cellulite. That's the picture of cellulite.
Right.
Restore and Cleanslate, like a drop of Cleanslate and a little bit of Restore, because it's phenomenal as a facial. But if you also put it on cellulite sites and everything, you might see some interesting results.
Oh, that's my next try then.
Over time, and you have to take pictures of that. Women are ashamed of a lot of the things that happen to our bodies. That's the stuff you got to document, because when you do things that cause them to go away, those are the trophies that if you don't have your befores, you can never show the after.
Exactly.
Don't be ashamed of what your body's doing over time because you're polluted. Just fix it.
I love that.
Great. Do we have any other questions, Shanna?
We do. It says, does it help with gut dysbiosis? As I'm underweight, malabsorption, will Trinity make me lose weight?
Not if you're underweight, because you're toxic and it's screwing up your metabolism and your ability to assimilate nutrients. So what will happen is you clean up your gut. A lot of that's glyphosate and a lot of mercury. So as you start to remove those and your gut starts to repair itself, and that's where, well, really all three are beneficial in that component, that, yeah, you'll probably find that you pack on some weight. You'll start eating differently too, and which is kind of cool. I mean, I've had people tell me it's like, I'm gaining weight finally for the first time forever. We've got some great pieces of feedback and case studies and testimonials in some of the groups about that.
And I think that's because, again, it allows your body to do what your body needs to do instead of dictating and telling your body what to do. Your body will do what it needs.
It's going to create balance. It's going to find homeostasis. It has to. A healthy body is always going to remain healthy if it's taken care of. A healthy system doesn't get sick without assistance. So, and sickness doesn't just look one way, right? You can be malnourished and really skinny because your body can't use nutrients. You can't put on weight. Or you can have a lot of extra pounds on you and go, I can't get this stuff off of me. Both are the same issue. You're just polluted. It just expresses differently.
Exactly. And so because of that, it'll also help with the gut dysbiosis as well.
Well, dysbiosis is it's just your gut not working properly.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. That's all of the questions that I see.
Wonderful. Clayton, thank you so much for taking time during your vacation to come.
Yes, thank you.
Talk with us and help our group members. We have the best group members. Smart, very well educated. They always ask questions, and I love it.
We have a community.
You guys have some of the coolest people in your community in this group, so I'm happy to hang out. And as you can see, for every guy, there's usually multiple dynamic women.
That's true. So, thank you. We appreciate it. And we welcome, so just so we know, for the Detox Girls, right? That's just who we are. But we welcome the Detox guys into our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to change the title, though. You guys aren't the Detox Girls anymore. You're the Greatness Gals.
Oh.
Because that's the thing, is you have to get away from the term of detox. People have such a negative connotation with it. They don't want a detox. They think they're drug addicts.
Good thought.
Very true. I didn't think about that.
You love the greatness. Oh, we lost Clayton.
Oh, we lost him. Oh, service disconnected.
Okay. Well, that's
service.
We were wrapping up, and I know he has his next Zoom to get onto, so not a problem. So thank you everybody for being here. I love it. We are kind of moving away from the word group and coming together as a community, because this community is seriously the best. I love it. I love all the questions. I love that everybody's jumping on here live. For those that are watching it in the replay, thank you for taking the time in your evening to come back and catch it when you could. We are also going to put in the comments, we will repost the link to the YouTube that he was talking about, Oh, there he comes back.
There we go. Are we back?
We will post the link to the YouTube about autism that he was talking about.
Is it just me on the show?
No, you're here.
You're with us. Here you are.
Since they left.
No.
Bye, y'all.
I don't think he could hear us.
So, but we will put back in the comments the YouTube that he was referring to about autism. It's with Dr. Dory and Dr. Rao, and it is. I've now watched it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm addicted. So, if anybody is looking for information, we have a lot of information in the guides. Please jump into the guides and start reading. We're adding to them every single day. The YouTube channel is posted in. Well, I'll put it into the guides too. It's in the group, but I'll put it into the guides. Their YouTube channel is phenomenal. So please take the time, if we get it, everybody's busy, and some of them are an hour long, but they're really in depth. Put it on in the car. Let it play while you're driving. You don't have to watch it. Let it play while you're driving. Let it play while you're doing the dishes. Put in an earbud if you're rocking your baby to sleep. It's amazing information brought to you by doctors and Dr. Christina Rao, Dr. Christina Rao is the translator for Cleanslate and Root. Thank you again to Clayton for being here. He's the CEO and owner of Root. And I think do you have anything else, Shanna?
I just love that. I think it was wonderful. We want to thank you guys all for being here. You're our community. We love each and every one of you, and that's why we do what we do. So if you need any more information, just let us know in the comments, and we're happy to get that to you and point you in the right direction.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.